Kenosis 1. What is humility? What is humility? This is an important question because humility is important in all Christian spirituality, in all that Christ, and I would say God in the Old Testament, preaches to man. It almost seems like it is the foundation upon which the whole spiritual life will be built. We see it in the Old Testament when God says, "I will give you a heart of flesh, a humble heart, a repentant heart." The sacrifice that pleases God is a modest heart. So what is humility? In the word humility, there is the word humus. Humus is the earth, which is below, which is humble. We could define humility as the inner attitude which consists, without hypocrisy, in the face of its defects, since we look, by this virtue, in the first place its limits, we put ourselves in its proper place in comparison of others. The humble man does not put himself forward, does not hide the faults he has secretly to blame others, it is true. It's a form of truth finally. Humility should not be confused with a complex of inferiority, which would consist, I would say, of a false, ultimately hidden pride, to wish to be great, not to be so, and therefore to despair. No. It is a peaceful attitude that a humble man takes. So in a second sense and by extension, since I said that humility was a form of truth too, well, humble man, if for example he is better than another in mathematics, well, he is able to recognize it. It is not pride to recognize such a truth. But obviously he does it without crushing the other, with modesty, and rather to help the other. In this respect, can we say that God is humble? Well, in the part of humility that has a certain term of abasement, the earth, the humus, as I said, St. Thomas Aquinas says, no, that term cannot apply to God. God has no limits, God has no flaws, so God is not humble. But under the other part that I have defined, which is to say that there is some truth, to be in its proper place as we are, well, in this respect we could assign by analogy a form of humility to God, and I would say that this is the fundamental virtue that could be attributed to God among Muslims. He is in his right place, God is great, man is small, God is above man, and it is true, so God in a certain respect is humble in Islam. The man who is small, who prostrates himself before his Grand Master, is humble in doing so. Obviously, we avoid using this word as I said, it would be better to say God is true, God is right. This would correspond better to the definition attributed in Islam. But we understand very well what I meant by that. So in both aspects of humility, watch its limits and secondly be true.